I asked you if you'd like to join me for dinner. I'll send my car and drive it for you. And you ignored me. Don't be a stupid woman. We went out about twice. Not good. That was over. 2 days later, I get a phone call. My secretary screens it and says, "There's a Lisa for you." I said, "Lisa?" "Yeah, Lisa." I said, "I don't know Lisa." She said, "I am so-and-so's friend from 1/5 Avenue. I said, "Why are you calling me?" "Well, why don't we go out?"
Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast, and I'm your host Denisa. And today's episode is a little different. I have two very special guests, and guess what? They happen to be married to each other. Now, Lisa Zeiderman, who was our prior guest, and just a refresher, she's an extraordinary woman. She's a managing partner of Miller Zeiderman LLP in New York. She's a matrimonial attorney. She's a certified financial litigator, certified divorce financial analyst, who really built a highly respected practice handling pretty complicated financial and custody cases. And she's been named super lawyer. She writes and she speaks widely on family law and financial issues. And she serves in leadership roles with organizations that are focused in helping women, families. I mean, just her resume stretches miles and miles. Now, her husband, Lloyd Zeiderman, he's a president of Zeiderman Management Corporation, and he is a strong force in his own right, with a meaningful role behind the scenes in business, growth, and strategy. But guess what? Today, just like it's true to the show, we're not here to talk about resumes. And we're here to talk about the two of you, the marriage, the partnership, and really who you are when the workday ends. Lisa and Lloyd, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Denise. Thank you.
So it's been such a pleasure. Like I said, Lisa, we had you on the show, and Lloyd, my husband and I had a pleasure to get to know you a little bit when we had dinner together, the four of us. And I'm always fascinated by stories, and everybody has one. And now I have the pleasure of having the two of you here. So, before we dive into anything serious, and I'm kidding, tell me again, how did the two of you meet? What do you remember about your first impression of the other?
Such a great question.
Want me to go first?
Go first.
1980. I'm having lunch with my partner, my business partner, at a restaurant called 1/5 Avenue. And he turns to me and says, "Check out those three women." And there are three women walking in together. Lisa's one of the three. And they march across the room. And they're seated. And I said, "I want to meet them, or at least one of them." Took out my business card. I wrote a little message on it, gave it to the waiter. And I said, who to give it to. He didn't give it to Lisa. He gave it to one of the other women. She ignored me. I got annoyed. I got up and I walked to her table. And I said, "It was a very polite card. I asked you if you'd like to join me for dinner. I'll send my car and drive it for you. And you ignored me. Don't be a stupid woman." She changed her mind. She answered me. And we went out about twice. Not good. That was over. And she came back and reported to Lisa, said, "Not for me, baby," or something like that. 2 days later, I get a phone call. My secretary screens it and says, "There's a Lisa for you." I said, "Lisa?" "Yeah, Lisa." I said, "I don't know Lisa." I get on the phone. I said, "What can I do for you, ma'am?" She said, "I am so-and-so's friend from 1/5 Avenue. I said, "Why are you calling me?" "Well, why don't we go out?" I said, "Sure." So we went out the following week, and I took her to a place in the village, an Italian restaurant, favorite place of mine, on a Monday night. And it was empty, totally empty, except for the two of us. We got to talk, and at one point she finally admitted she thought that I rented the whole restaurant, which I did not. That's how we met. We dated off and on for the next couple of years. And one night she said, "It's over." I said, "What's over?" She said, "The relationship." I said, "There is no relationship. I'm divorced, and this is the way I'm going to stay." She said, "That's what I mean by it's over. And I want a picket fence or the equivalent." And she left. I didn't see her for 10 years. 10 years later, and we never spoke. 10 years later, I'm walking along 3rd Avenue, Manhattan. A taxi pulls up to where I'm standing. She steps out. We get into a conversation. She gives me her business card at the end of it, telling me that she's married. Wonderful. I start calling her. I call her every day for a year. She would not go out with me. Finally, we had a snowstorm in Manhattan. We had dinner. That was the end of her marriage and the beginning of our life. That's my story. Is that close, love?
That is close. That is actually real. That is definitely real. So I would say it's all accurate. I would add that when I met Lloyd the very first time, when I saw him the very first time, I definitely wanted to go out with him. And after our first date, I went back to my office. I was working in the fashion business then. And I said, "This is the guy who I'm going to marry." And they all looked at me like I was crazy, right? And I said, "I know that this is the guy I'm going to marry." And so it took us a lot of years to get together, but eventually he got past the fact that he no longer wanted to get married. And we did get married, and we're now married 28 years. And it's been the best 28 years of my life.
And mine.
That is like a movie. That is incredible. You know, and they say that you have to go through seasons and to form a friendship. Um, did you go through seasons as a couple?
Should we go through seasons? I'm not sure what that really means. I feel like for me, I've always known Lloyd. He's always been part of my life, even and he's correct, we didn't see each other during my entire marriage. And even before that, once we had broken up, we were done. But I feel like he's one of the people I've known for the longest in my life. He's probably the person I've known the longest in my life. We've known each other for 45 years, for 45 years. So I've known him since I'm 19 years old. And although we had that period
Yeah,
of
but
time,
she told me she was 30.
right? So otherwise he wouldn't have dated me. But bottom line is that I feel like he truly is part of me. And many people who know us, really know us, know that we think very much the same. So when we wake up in the morning and I have a thought, like a big thought, like maybe we should sell our apartment or buy an apartment or should change something in our lives, he will have the same thought within seconds. And we will one of us will say, "I just had that thought." And so some people will say that we are basically two bodies with one mind. And I think that that's right in a lot of ways. There will be things that come out of my mouth and I'll think, "Oh my God, that was Lloyd coming out of my mouth."
Well, you both come across as strong people, but in very different ways. So, who brings what into the relationship, and how have those differences actually helped? Differences, you're sounds like you're on the same page, but you're obviously two different people. How have those differences helped actually in your relationship?
Compromise.
Yes, go for it. Yes, you.
A compromise. Life is a compromise. Everything that you do has to meet in the middle or somewhere very close to the middle. We're married 28 years. We have not been separated one night since we got married. Right? I don't know anybody else that can say that. No matter what, we're together every night. If it means one of us is to fly somewhere with the other one, then we go with them. And it's a very important part of the marriage. And it's proved very successful for us. Lisa, your turn.
Well, I don't know if I would call it compromise. I don't feel like I have to compromise, to be honest with you. I know you've said this a number of times, Lloyd, but I don't feel like I'm compromising. I feel like we want a lot of the same things. And so I don't feel like I'm really compromising. I feel like we both are getting what we want because it happens that we want very much the same things and have very much the same goals. And in a lot of ways, you're right, Denisa. We have very similar personalities. They're very strong personalities. We've never had a fight, by the way, in 28 years. Like literally never had a fight.
Wow.
So, and I don't think it's because, I mean, maybe we do it naturally, like we compromise, but I think it's bigger than that. And I'm thinking about it now. I think it's that we care enough about each other to put each other's needs first. So I always feel like Lloyd is putting my needs first, and I always try to put his needs first. And so I don't think of it as a compromise. I think of it as I really love him and I want to do the very best thing I can for him because I know he would do the same for me.
What would you say? What is your pet peeve? Just about people in general.
So I would say I don't like people who feel like they're always victims. That would be a pet peeve of mine. Okay. I don't, I'm really, and I would say this for both of us, we're probably the hardest working people that you could find. And so I really don't understand people who don't want to work that hard or don't have ambition, and just want it, but they aren't willing to do what it takes to get there. I don't like people who aren't honest. I would say lying. That's a pet peeve. I really can't stand lying. I think we're both honest to a fault, meaning whatever it is. Now, in Lloyd's case, I would say that he just says whatever is on his mind, which is sometimes kind of scary. So,
No filter.
right, he has just about zero filter. Do you agree?
Zero.
So, I think that lying is probably my pet peeve. I think that that's the biggest thing. I think people should be honest.
In our relationship, there's no reason to lie. We don't want to do something. One doesn't want to do it. We don't do it. There's no such thing as inducing or encouraging the other one to do something they don't want to do. And it works great for us. God knows I don't think it works for other people, and
Yeah.
I'm not recommending it, but we found out what works for us.
Yeah, there's something freeing about being authentic and who you truly are. I mean, it happened. I sense my own transformation, where you stop pleasing. And it doesn't mean, that you are insensitive or rude. You simply are who you are. And I think maybe as you get older, I said to myself, when I turned 50, I sort of joined the I don't give a F club. And, the small things you're able just to sort of shrug it off. But it's one thing that I've learned is not to take stuff personally. And that was really helpful. And that sounds to me like maybe what you're describing, Lloyd, is not you didn't say not having a filter, but being sort of direct and say what's on your mind is. I wonder if that's something to do with it, right? Because you can't control the other person's feeling. You're not responsible for their feeling, and you're just being your authentic self. You're not taking stuff personally. Does that resonate?
People that know me accept me for the way I am.
Yeah.
Or we don't socialize with them, or we don't have any dealings with them. New people that meet us are appalled at the things that I will say out of the clear blue for no reason.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should hear the non-cleaned up version of how we met. It's very
Ooh.
different. No,
Why am I getting the polished version here? I
because
knew
the other is not publishable.
it. I guess that's for dinner. Then we have to leave it for. Yeah. Wow. I'm curious because Lisa, we had you on the show. You shared your story. Lloyd, when we go way back, what is your story? What were you, where did you grow up? What were you into as a little boy?
All right. I'm a plain Jewish kid that grew up in the Bronx, New York. Very poor. I grew up in the tenements. My father was the CPA, and he never made a living. probably the only CPA I ever knew that couldn't make a living. I started working when I was 14, and I haven't stopped since I started working. I love to work. It's the drive in me. And once I get to bite into something, I am like the dog with a bone. I won't let go of it until I make it succeed. And I've had at least 2 phenomenal careers. And I have one more thing I've got to do in life, and I'm working on it. I simply love to work, which detracts, obviously, from my the way I live my life. There isn't a lot of time for relaxation. There's not a lot of downtime. There's no balance. When I was building my first practice, I flew back and forth to New York twice every month for 25 years because I had offices in New York and LA. I don't know anybody in any business that ever flew as much as I did. Now, it was great. I was single. All right. So for a single guy, you meet a lot of people in first class that are interesting. Had a lot of success in business that way. I built a phenomenal business. Then I got tired of that business. So I had to find another business. So it was simple. I just took a company public on Nasdaq, just like you could do it like that. But you can't do it like that. To do something like that was intensive for 18 months between my business partner and myself, of 18-hour days. My life is 18-hour days generally, or had been. In the last 5 years or so, I've cut back, so it's not 18. So it's back to a normal 40-hour week. But I love work. I thrive on work. And when we vacation vacation is anywhere we want to go, because life is to be enjoyed. There's a book I read in the last year called How to Die with Nothing. And I realized it's me, the way I want to live. I want to spend the last dollar on a postage stamp or something before I go. And I want to enjoy what I have. And we want to enjoy what we have. And Lisa works as hard as I do in her way. And we end up going to wonderful places and having wonderful experiences. And that's what we're here for, I think. I mean, that's what I think I'm here for. I don't think I'm here to be unhappy or to teach people how they should live their lives. I really don't care how anybody lives their life. Only myself and my wife. That's all I really care about. So that's that story. What more would you like me to tell you about the work, if anything?
Well, it sounds like when you said no balance,
There
like
is no
my
balance. Absolutely no balance.
You love work, right?
You love work. It's not work.
It's who you are.
Right? For me, I could get up at 1 a.m. because I'm not sleepy, go into my office at home and work. Because it's fun. I'm accomplishing. I'm building something that I want to do that I just didn't have enough time to do during the day. During the day, I'm not one of the guys that goes to the movie or plays golf or plays tennis. I do more work. I can try to come up with a new concept. How do you take an old deal and restructure the deal so it'll work in today's world? Because today's world is not the world I grew up in. It's a very different world in every aspect, better, worse, whatever, but it's radically different. And if you analyze what's going on around you, you'll figure out generally how to make it work better for you in an appropriate, honorable way.
Well, it sounds like you enjoy it. And on the topic of work, I completely get it. When people say, when they do talk about balance, work and life, and to me, I don't separate those two. It sounds like you don't either. You and Lisa, it's an extension of you. So I think anytime you create a separation, there's a resistance and a conflict. It's almost like you're in conflict with yourself. So it sounds like you too have this natural flow.
Well, we do, because we do it, we get to the point differently. I'll make this brief. In my career in the 80s, I decided AIDS was killing everybody I knew because I was in show business. So I was one of the founders of something called the Pediatric AIDS Foundation. There were 5 of us. I left it 19 years later. When I left, we had a budget of $500 million a year to do good. That was a great achievement. I'm very proud of it. Lisa does it a totally different way. She decided that she would do her nonprofit and her givebacks in her own way, which are organizations that she believes in, that she wants to help and to further. So when she finishes her 12-hour day, she can get in the car and be driven into Manhattan because she's going to go to a meeting or have a drink or whatever it is. So we get to the same goals in very different ways. I never did anything for nonprofit except that one organization because I just didn't have the desire to do it. Okay.
Thank you. That's an interesting, I really appreciate you sharing that. Lisa, what would you say, what is Lloyd's, I don't know if you can call it superpower, but what is it that you would think that the most people miss or do not see about Lloyd?
Wow. So there's so many things about Lloyd that people don't see. So Lloyd is the most loyal person that you could ever meet. And he would go out of his way for someone he really cares about more than anyone else that I've ever met. But he also can be extremely, extremely vicious if you are on Lloyd's wrong side. I will say that too. And he will cut somebody out in a minute if he finds them lying, or if he finds that they have done something that they should not have done, or if he feels morally that they've done something. He's got a very strong moral compass. And so in his view, if it's something that he finds immoral, it will just be over for him. And he's very good at weeding out people. I will say that too. He is not one of those people that says, oh, I knew this person for 30 years, or I knew this person for 40 years, or I knew this person for however long, and so therefore they're going to stay part of my life. That's not Lloyd. He can go out and find new relationships and end old relationships very quickly if he feels that he has been lied to, or this person has done something immoral in his view, or whatever it is. So that's something that I think is in some ways a superpower, because I think people sometimes hang on to people, particularly, I mean, look at the field I'm in, right? Okay.
Yeah.
They hang on to relationships way too long when they've overstayed the relationship in many ways. He also, I think, his other superpower is, and he sort of described this earlier to you, this idea that he wants to make sure that to know that this is the one shot he's got in life, right? And he's going to make it the most pleasurable life he can have, and he's going to do things that make him happy. And that's very important, because I think a lot of people put off what will make them happy for another day, or put maybe their kids first, or their this person first, or that person. Lloyd is not that person. He absolutely wants to make sure that he experiences in this lifetime what he wants to experience. And I think he's very, very bright. Okay, much more so than the average person. And he's right. He can think about how to restructure a deal, or think about a deal differently, or put together a deal. And that is also a superpower. And he's a great negotiator. So I would say those are all superpowers for him. And he has just an incredible background and history. You know, he didn't tell you what his first company was, but he managed most of Hollywood's money, frankly. That's what he had, what is the equivalent of a family office today. And he was a money manager, and he invested people's monies, and all of the superstars that you can imagine. Back in the day when he had his practice, he represented those people. and it was an incredibly tremendous practice. So I think that he's just got a vast amount of knowledge and experience, and nobody should sell him short.
Yeah, no. And I love that. I love how you elevate each other. That's really what it sounds like. I mean, you are this ultimate power couple, and you come across that way authentically. And I think that's something to be admired. How do you know, it's interesting. Lloyd, I don't like to sound absolute, but how do you feel about saying I'm sorry?
If I'm wrong, without a
Yeah,
doubt, absolutely no problem. I make
love it.
mistakes, just like we all do. Everybody makes mistakes. My accountant today made a terrible mistake on a very important document. Fortunately, I caught it before it was emailed. And I called him on it. He tried to get out of it. The conversation was unbelievable,
Mm,
talking about the F word. Okay. No, there's no reason not to apologize. I probably apologize all the time. But, Denisa, I only make a mistake once in life. One mistake at a time. I never repeat my mistakes.
mm,
So every time I try something new, that's a new mistake. That one is okay. And I learn from those mistakes. And sooner or later, your pile of mistakes is enormous. And it's hard to make a mistake a second time if you follow what you're doing. Now, is that a philosophy of life? Probably. Did I learn it anywhere? No. I did not have any wonderful college instructors that gave me pearls of wisdom. I was a lucky guy. I was fortunate. I was born with a very high IQ. It has nothing to do with me. I bought the lucky ticket. All right. So lucky that I worked since I'm 14. That's how lucky it was, huh? First marriage failed, not for any real serious reason. I just didn't want to be married. So I got out.
yeah.
And on in life. If I don't like something, I don't like a car, I get rid of it. I'm not going to keep it until it wears out. You make a mistake, you get rid of it. Making mistakes is part of life. And you got to answer for your mistakes too. Right? And I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've made big ones, big dollars. Not a second time. I'll never go back to it again, whatever it is that day.
Mm.
Okay. I know one of the questions that we've spoken about is, what do I consider success? And I used to have a T-shirt that said, "He who dies with the most toys wins." And I stopped wearing it, but I really believe it. I stopped wearing it because I got old. But he who dies with the most toys wins.
How so?
How so? Because that's what I believe in. I love to have cars. I have 3 cars. Nobody needs 3 cars. One of them I haven't driven in a year, a Porsche, that I just haven't driven. Right? I don't know people with 3 cars, or there are crazy people, like people in show business that have 10 cars or 20 cars or 30, right? Everything about my life is to enjoy, for Lisa and I, to enjoy what we do to the utmost and to be honorable and moral as best we can. And we make mistakes and we take people into our lives who shouldn't be there. But I don't have any problem telling somebody to drop dead, right? I took the most famous person in Hollywood, told him to get out of my office. And on the other hand, I have another very famous person who's been a client for 55 years.
Mm.
I don't know anybody in Hollywood that talks to anybody for 55 years. Forget about representing their interests. So there are 2 ends of a long bridge that I walk. And have I made a mistake? Sure. There are people I threw out of my office. And I look back and say, would have been nice if I kept that person, but I didn't. Such is life. And they went on. And a writer I had, one of the most famous writers in the United States, and I just didn't like him. It had nothing to do with anything. I just didn't like him. So he had to go, and on and on.
Yeah, I mean, you are who you are. That's
Yes.
it. You know, and it sounds like people either like it or they don't like it, and you just keep rolling and moving forward. And Lisa, how do you have you've assembled an amazing team, and what are some things you look for now, many years later, in people when you hire them as you're expanding your team? Is it different than what it was, let's say, 5 years ago? What's important to you?
Yeah, so that's such a great question. Is it different than 5 years ago? Maybe not different than 5 years ago, but was it different than when we first started our business? So I think I'm different than when I first started the business. We started our business in 2013. So we're about 13 years now in, and we started with 4 people, and now we're 40 something people.
Wow.
And 20 something attorneys. And, we really have developed our reputation and our name and all of that. And I think what we have learned is who we are, right? So we are probably, we're all smart. There's no question about that. We're smart, we're prepared, we're aggressive, we're willing to negotiate, but we're also willing to take the case to trial. And so I need to find people who are honest. Honesty is like super important, because I want people who go into court and always tell the truth, no matter what. People who are always make their deadline. There's no exception in my office for that. And it never happens. We don't miss a deadline. We just don't do it. Maybe we'll ask for an adjournment, but we will never miss a deadline. I don't care if we have to stay up all night long and work all weekend long. We just will not do it. And we are always probably the most prepared in terms of being in court or in a negotiation. We don't go in unprepared. That also means that I have to have people who are hardworking. I also have found people who can be mentors to other people. So we have brought in, young associates. Mentoring is extremely important. It was very difficult after COVID because there wasn't as much in person, as you know. But we also, and for me, I also learned flexibility is important in terms of my people. So for me, hybrid really is fine. And I think that you have to understand that people are not all Lloyd and Lisa, frankly, and that there are going to be people who want to have that balance in life. And I accept that there are going to be people who want balance, but there are also going to be people who don't care about balance. Both those people are welcome in my firm, but they're going to get compensated differently. Right? And that's just the bottom line. And I think that I've learned that you can have both sets of people because they are right for different clients and right for different types of cases, but the compensation is going to differ. And it's just that simple. And so there's other things that I look for. The ability to mentor is definitely one of them. The ability to, argue in court, the ability to write, all of these different things. And I think each of the people in my office have different talents. And when I actually work with a client in that first consultation, I always sit and think to myself, who's going to be on the team with me for that client? Who's the right person?
Yeah.
Because it's not just a person, it's the right person for that client. What's going to be the mix?
That's wonderful. That is such a great assessment, Lisa, because you're married to a true businessman who knows, obviously loves you dearly, but also knows how to assess a business. This is really interesting. Not strangely, and it doesn't really maybe surprise me. Everything you're saying about running a business and assembling the right team, and Lloyd, what you said about, you really compensate super well people who are the right people. You just do. It really lands well. I've learned a lot about myself. I would consider myself this purebred entrepreneur, building sort of this entity that I'm not defining because, I'm learning every day through technology and just building a business. It's such a passion, what it might be, and how to deliver, better resources, whether it's, an education service to people. But as far as assembling team, who I retain or attract says a lot about who I am, because I was raised to think, to educate myself, to have the street smarts and all that. And I like people who are practical doers. Don't ask me a million questions, figure it out. I'll answer it, but are more independent rather than I need structure, I need hand holding. I'm not good. I'm not good. And it's not fair to them to be around. But if you are an employee, be a damn good employee. If you are a killer, a connector, do that too, because you need the ducks, you need the eagles, and you need them all. But just like raise your own bar, right? Don't complain, don't be needy. So I've learned that about myself, and I don't hold back. I'm grateful. What have you learned about yourself, Lisa, as as you grew this monumental firm?
So, look, I've learned a few things. Number one, I think that not everybody is the same,
Mhm.
and that you need to understand that. And so I'm going to modify a little bit of what Lloyd has said, because I think that I've learned that not everybody is the same, and that people, as I said, do need balance and do want life, right? They want to have a life.
Yeah.
And so I think that the way that I've dealt with that is I want those people too, because they bring something to the table without a question. And they are the right people for some of the clients too, which is the most important, right? It's satisfying the
Yeah.
clients is the most important. And so I think that there are people who are going to work those tremendous hours, and there are people who are not going to work those tremendous hours. And as I said, you deal with it in compensation. I do agree with Lloyd that I don't know if it's really called overpaying, but I think making sure that people feel well appreciated, and that they are paid well, and that they can that they are incentivized to work. Those are all things that I've learned are really important. And making sure that that people also feel challenged in terms of the work that you're giving them, that they feel that they're getting an opportunity to be in court, to do an oral argument at the appellate division, to do an oral argument in court, to work on a trial. All of those things, those are all opportunities for people. And then making sure that we are really mentoring the younger associates. I think that's one of the most important things, because the firm is only going to grow if you grow younger associates. And so I think that all of those things are really important. And then I think the teaching our people that they have to give back is also incredibly important. As you mentioned earlier, I'm board chair of Savvy Ladies, which is for women's financial empowerment. It's something I believe very, very strongly in, and I am also vice president on the board for family legal care, and that is something that for people to advocate for themselves in terms of the family court system. And those are two non-for-profits that I feel very, very strongly about. And I have also learned that I can't spread myself too thin, and I don't need to be on every single board. I need to be on the boards that I really care about, and the boards that are meaningful to me. And I want my associates and my partners and my associates to be giving back as well. And so they see that happen at the top, and hopefully they want to do the same thing.
The culture, right? How would you define your culture?
Oh, it's so interesting that you asked that, because we really can define it now, right? So smart, hardworking, honest, super prepared, not people who really get to work and want to work and aren't there to play. I mean, they are there to work. They want to be compensated well, and they also they want some boundaries in terms of work and life, but they most importantly they want to be compensated well for the work that they do, because the work that they do is important, and it's excellent work. So I think it's a place of really doing excellent work and being well compensated for it. And I think that we have a group of people who really do that, and I appreciate them every day.
Lloyd, what is one of your most favorite movies of all times?
I could tell you one now, but you'd have to cut it out.
Oh no, everything goes. Almost.
I think you can find a second one if it has to be cut out. Maybe you could just think of a second one.
You know, I'm just trying, what would be my favorite movie? Probably everything that Mel Brooks ever did.
Who?
Mel Brooks.
Oh, Mel Brooks.
I would say that everything that he did was spectacular. It was poignant. It was right on the spot. He was never a client. I spent one afternoon, one day with him flying to New York. It was one of the best days of my life, being alone.
How so?
Well,
How so?
we were on a plane that was pretty much empty, a regular commercial flight, and he was busy performing for me for the entire trip from LA to New York. He went up to the pilot. He came out wearing their uniform. He was running around and singing and dancing. It was just it was like his movies. It was insane. So, and recently I just watched the history of Mel Brooks on, I don't know, on one of the streaming channels. It was marvelous. As far as a particular movie, I really can't tell you that there's any movie. There were shows that were TV, like Sopranos, or
Okay.
Larry David, Seinfeld. Those are the things that I can watch endlessly over and over, because they're so interesting and dynamic, and they're so deep. When you look into it, there's really an enormous depth to what these people are doing. It's not just a casual joke to me. All right, try another question.
Yes, this was good. Lisa, Lisa, what I just heard you laugh. What makes you laugh? I'm talking laugh, not just giggle. Like what?
Something that Lloyd might say, I would say, I mean, listening to him now, ask me another question. It's so Lloyd, right? It's
Right,
just,
right.
it's a
Bring
Lloyd
it.
moment.
Bring it.
So,
Yeah,
right. So just bring it on. He knows like he's going to be here. Like you should just ask him the next question.
that's right. Just keep going. Yeah. Yeah. No, that is actually funny. I'm fascinated. I mean, you guys are really you have a great chemistry. And it shows. And it's really fabulous. I could chat with you for a long time. And well, I'm not gonna torture you anymore. And I like to ask, Lloyd, let me ask you this, like for anybody that's looking to start a business today, what will be, I know it's very broad. What would be your advice?
It's not very broad, honestly. Probably work twice as hard as everybody else. Get in there earlier, go home later. Check your work at least twice. Make sure that you have a minimum number of errors. And go out and bust your ass, because that's how you make money. There's no limitation.
Yeah.
Absolutely is no limit to what you can do if you're just an average person in this average world and you excel. You're working twice as hard. It's no secret. I mean, if I worked 80 hours a week, which I did for most of my life, why wouldn't I be twice as successful as everybody else that I knew?
Yeah.
I grew up with a whole bunch of friends from the Bronx. None of them succeeded in anything that they ever did. They got ordinary jobs. They were happy with that. I wasn't happy for whatever drove me to need success. And when I realized my own need, I amplified it by working as hard as I could. Flying back and forth to New York, LA is an unbelievably difficult job. It's a job in itself. All right, they're called stewardesses, people that do that. Because, all right, I did it twice a month for 25 years. Was it fun? Sure. But it was very hard work. And then when I was at work, I had to be on New York time and LA time at the same time. And then it got crazy because then I bought a house in Hawaii. So I had to be on New York time and LA time and Hawaii time.
Of course
And
you
it
did.
doesn't leave sleep time or personal time.
You don't need any sleep.
No, I was at that point in my life, I was really sleeping about 4 hours a night. That was what I really needed, maybe 5. I did not need a lot of sleep. Now it's a totally different story. Now I need an enormous amount of sleep.
Oh my gosh, you're such a hoot. Lisa, I know you have such a great sense of fashion. That was your background. How would you define your style?
So I like to think of my style as, what do I think of my style as?
It,
What?
you're it.
Eh?
Yeah, you always look perfect.
Thank you, honey. That's my biggest fan,
there you go.
obviously. I like to think of it as edgy. I think that that's what I would describe it as, a little bit edgy, right? Not provocative, but definitely a little bit edgy.
What would you know, as far as staying on the topic, women who are entering the legal career, and everybody has their own style. I mean, obviously you have to feel good in your skin and all that, but is there something that has sort of gone away as far as style and how you dressed in this profession? I know it's generalized, or is it something that, that is coming back? Are you noticing any trends as far as, how you're dressing as a
As-
woman in this profession?
So I would say as people have more experience, they have more freedom as to what they're going to dress like, right?
Yeah.
So I don't expect my younger associates to feel confident enough to maybe wear the leather dress, okay? But I'm in a leather dress today. I met with 3 clients, right? I'm wearing a very nice cardigan over it, and it's fine, right? But I think that when you first come in, and I have said to some of my associates, like, you need to step it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You're working with high net worth clients. You need to look the part, right? You need to look good. You need to be dressed in a nice suit or a pretty dress or whatever it is, right? And you can't look, frankly, like a slob going into court.
Right.
Okay, you need to look like you're respectful to the judge and that you mean business and that somebody is going to that you're going to command some attention when you walk into the room, right? And that's hard, I think, to teach young associates because obviously they don't necessarily have the funds, right? But they can put it together if they think about it. And I think that that's very important that they spend some time thinking about it and making sure that they do look presentable and maybe a little bit more than presentable, right? And when they're standing up in court, you don't want them to look disrespectful. You don't want them to look like they're blending into a wall. You want them to have some style and some panache. And I think that that's important. And I think as you become more confident as an attorney, you have a little bit more leeway to do that.
Love it. The blending and all.
Can I give
Yeah,
you can I give you my version of how
yes, please.
because mine was totally
Who
different.
could stop you?
Right.
All right. Everybody in Hollywood wears a costume. All right. No matter what you are, you dress in some sort of a costume. And for all the years that I was there, I chose to wear cowboy boots and a bush jacket, a safari jacket, whatever you want to call it. I have no idea why, but that was my costume. And just before I sold my business, I was approached by one of the big 4 CPA firms of the world, of the United States. We negotiated for an entire day. We cut a deal to buy me out. I got a flyer, came by. I heard the deal. I said, that's great. And I leaned back in my chair like this. And he was at the other end of the table. And he looks down at me and he said, our name is going to be on the door. I said, wait a minute. Your name is going to be down here. And my name is going to be on the door. I said, what's the rest of you thought? He said, well, you can't wear that outfit. I said, you can kiss my ass. This meeting is over. And that was the end of a fabulous buyout that I won't mention whom. So I dressed appropriately. But my secret to my success was never, ever let people think you don't have money if you don't have it. No matter what.
Mm.
If you have to rent a suit, go rent it. Buy a used suit. Wear appropriate dress if that's what your position is. You don't come to work in jeans and a sweatshirt. You come in and you look successful. Success breeds more success. And it's basically Lisa's philosophy. She's got to look success because the people don't want to go into an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor who's in rags. What is it? It's a terrible message. Somebody in rags. You're not doing well, baby. You know, don't give me advice on how to fix my whatever.
Yeah.
Get some clothes. That's my thought.
Yeah. No, I love it. And at the same time, you were comfortable in it. That was
yeah.
you. It was part of you. Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was purposeless. The funny thing is, I cannot tell anybody why I ever did it because I don't know why I did it. All right.
Who cares?
But it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
When I traveled, and one other thing, when I traveled, I always wore black leather pants.
Ooh.
All right.
Wasn't that hot? I mean, weren't you hot in it? For
No,
hours on the plane?
the plane is,
Oh my
plane is
gosh.
air conditioned. It was very good for attracting attention.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah, I can see that.
It worked.
A rock star.
Rock star.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. Okay, now we need to end it on this note because we could go down a very interesting path, but you gotta have fun, and I think that comes from authenticity. And we'll probably have you back. I know we will. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing yourselves with us. It's been really a lot of fun.
Thanks so much, Denisa.
Thank you. It's been fun doing it.
Yeah, no, and to our viewers and listeners, to learn more about Lisa and Lloyd, make sure that you click on their bio links below, and do not forget to hit the subscribe button, YouTube channel, Beyond the Bar podcast. And I love to say this, until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.